Hi everyone, Torsten Nogel here, or as some of you might know me as WinglessValkyrie, and welcome to the first in what is hopefully going to be multiple episodes of what is effectively a fireside chat style of video. I kept on going back and forth on what to name this. I like the hearth with Tor and stuff like that, trying to make it really cinematic and what have you, but I think we're just going to consider them just fireside chats with Tor, fireside with Tor, because it's simple. Everyone kind of understands what a fireside chat is, but if you don't, I'm basically looking at answering one, if not two questions a week and just filming a response to these questions and putting them up on the secondary channel. I used to do these Q&A videos on the main channel a long time ago, and I've kind of been itching to do more community focused videos, but I didn't really know how to go about doing them because my community isn't super big, but I still want to be able to interact with it a little bit more and just, make something fun out of it that I also get to make a video out of. And I saw a couple of these, Jay Schlatt has his weekly slap, and Bricky is also doing his fireside chats as well. And I decided, you know what, I can also do that too, god damn it, because I'm a YouTuber too, gosh darn it, so here we are. So we're going to give this a go, and if you like it, then be sure to leave a comment that you like this and you want to do more. And if you also have your own comments that you want me to answer in the future, you can go ahead and leave them down below in the comment section, or you can join the Discord, link in the description, and send them out there. The first question we have for our fireside actually comes from my best friend Jackson, also known as Refixix, or Undeciderer if you're on my Discord. And he goes ahead and asks, what in your opinion is the most innovative game you've ever played? Something that really wowed you and how it functioned or flowed? And the easy answer is, well, I've immediately thought of one game, and it probably is recency bias, but the first game I thought of is Expedition 33, Clair Obscura. I said that in the wrong order, but whatever, you know what I'm talking about. And for many reasons, I think that is a phenomenal game for so many different reasons, but we're not going to make this a whole video based on just Expedition 33 because that would be insane. And as much as I want to, that's not what we're doing here. But at first, immediately, I thought about Clair Obscura Expedition 33 because of how much it made me feel like I was playing a game that was not turn-based, because it had so much involvement in the turn-based mechanic. But as I thought about it more and more, because I honestly didn't want to say Expedition 33 because I was like, oh, well, that's a cop-out answer that, it's recency biased. I just wrapped it up and, I felt it was innovative. But then as I thought about it more and more, I realized innovative for me is a little bit different, because while I think Clair Obscura is innovative for, the turn-based genre as a whole, it was really innovative and different for me because I don't typically like turn-based games. And as I thought about it more often, I was like, okay, well, what other games do I think of, like, in terms of how Jackson asked, like, what, in my opinion, was something that really wowed me and how it functioned or flowed? And when I thought about that more often, I realized there is a lot of types of games that I have grown to really love and enjoy, that the type of games that they were, or games that had, existed prior to them, I really didn't like. And sticking with turn-based games, I, for the longest time, despised turn-based combat. I thought turn-based combat games always just stopped the flow of the game dead in its tracks, and I hated them. And it really got to me because I remember, I can't remember who this was, but someone either gifted or lent me a Final Fantasy game. I can't remember which one it is, but it's the one with the dude and the yellow jacket on the front who's known for his horrible ha 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 laugh. Everyone knows which one that is, but I don't know what it is. But I remember I had that game for my PlayStation, and I was really excited because I'd never played a Final Fantasy game before, and I was really looking forward to this. But I had played Kingdom Hearts, and if you don't know anything about Kingdom Hearts is if you took Final Fantasy and you took Disney and you squished it together and you got some of the greatest games ever made. Kingdom Hearts 2 is the best game ever made, hands down, no opinions necessary. And a lot of Final Fantasy is in the Kingdom Hearts franchise, with the exception of Kingdom Hearts 3, but that's a different video. So I knew a lot about Final Fantasy indirectly because I loved Kingdom Hearts, but I had never played a standalone Final Fantasy game. I only ever knew the games and its characters through other media. So when I finally got my hands on a Final Fantasy game, I was extremely excited to play it, and I opened it, and then we got into combat, and it immediately went to turn-based, and I was so disappointed, because Kingdom Hearts games, even the first one, the combat was not turn-based. It was real-time, and I loved that because it didn't halt the action and everything to a stop just so you could get ahead and and, let's stop everything now and we're going to have this combat. Up until that point, the only turn-based game I really actually enjoyed was Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. And that was the only turn-based game that I actually enjoyed playing because it was just such a unique game in and of its own that I really, really enjoyed playing that. But every other turn-based game that I'd ever tried, I really didn't like them and I really hated playing them. So for me, and I also never finished that game. Once I learned that it was turn-based, I don't know what happened to it, but I never played it again. I might have given it away, I don't know, but I never got through it just because I was like, turn-based, gone, no idea. So for me, something that really wowed me in how it functions or flowed was when I, for the first time, played a game that Jackson's going to be very excited about called Persona 5. Specifically Persona 5 Royal, because Persona 5 Royal is a turn-based game, and I really didn't like turn-based games, and I have not liked turn-based games for a very, very long time. So playing Persona 5 Royal and getting through the horrible fucking slog of an opener and finally pushing through and really getting into it, I started to really enjoy it. But I will say I did not enjoy it because it was turn-based. Persona 5 had so much other stuff going on with its characters and the narrative and the music, my god, the music, and all kinds of other things going on, that it being turn-based didn't turn me away so much. But I can tell you 100%, if Persona 5 Royal was what's the term now, real time instead of turn-based, I would have loved it even more. And that's why Expedition 33 didn't feel like a turn-based game, because it had so much involvement in parrying and dodging and extra actions and planning and all that stuff. It made it so much better. And also with Final Fantasy VII, the remake, while the original was turn-based, the remake was real-time, but you could slow down the real-time combat to make what effectively was turn-based actions and limit, you do your limit breaks and all your different charge attacks and everything. And I liked that because it blended the feel of my love of real-time combat, but also the ability to use slower turn-based combat as well. And I liked that. That was a nice, innovative way of doing that. But wrapping this all up, I really have to come down to a small handful of games that are like the most innovative games, in my opinion, for me. Because I can't say like what the most innovative game is in the history of gaming. I haven't played all the games, and there are certain types of games like turn-based or like roguelikes and side-scrollers that I just refuse to play because I just don't like them. And I acknowledge there's some fantastic roguelikes and side-scrollers and what have you games out there, but they're just not for me. I'm happy for the people that like them, but just because someone makes an incredible cheesecake doesn't mean that it's garbage just because you don't like cheesecake. It can still be incredible and you don't like it at the same time. That is possible. So I'm just going to talk about some games that I felt were innovative because they made me look at them in an entirely new light. And if I was able to finish them, then it was innovative for me. And I have technically 3 games off the top of my head. 2 of them kind of fall in the same category. One of them I already mentioned. Expedition 33 was the innovative game that made me really enjoy turn-based combat. Persona 5 Royal is close behind, but Expedition 33, the way it made me play its turn-based game like it was real time, is what I really enjoyed, because it didn't make me feel like it was turn-based, and it didn't halt everything all the time because it was just constantly going, and I really enjoyed that. But another game that made me feel really, really neat and different, because it was a type of game that I'd never really played before, and that was Portal. I'm not a big puzzle game guy. I haven't played a whole lot of puzzle games. I have another game that I want to do on stream called Outer Wilds, which to my understanding is very, very much a puzzle game, but that you can only play once, because once you've played it, or at least know how to play it, my understanding is you can beat the game in like 20 minutes right from pressing new game, because you know how to do all the puzzles and everything. And I do have Outer Wilds, and it's DLC. I got it on sale, and I do want to play that on stream eventually because I hear just nothing but good things about it. And I recently just heard like a bit of the soundtrack in just a mixture of like incredible music soundtracks, and I was like, God damn, that shit slaps. So now I kind of want to try Outer Wilds, and we might do that on a stream. But Portal was a game that I didn't really know a lot about growing up in school. I'd heard about people playing Portal and everything, and they were talking about how it's a puzzle game. And immediately I was like, well, that sounds boring as hell, because my type of games growing up was stuff like Kingdom Hearts or Skyrim, you know, big fantasy epic games with a whole lot of combat and fun stuff to do. And a Portal game was like, there's no guns, there's no fantasy, there's no combat. It's just you're stuck in a room, figure out how to get out of it using portals. And I'm like, that sounds bland and boring as all hell. But everybody in school kept talking about it over and over and over and over and over again. So eventually I played Portal 1 and I was like, my God, I get it. And I enjoyed it. I wasn't blown away by it. But I was like, okay, you know, that was an enjoyable short experience, because if you don't remember, the first Portal game is actually quite short. And I was like, you know what, that's a quite enjoyable first experience. And then I played Portal 2 with my buddy Jackson as well on the multiplayer, and oh my God, incredible. Absolutely incredible game. So for me, Portal was innovative in playing more puzzle games, and I might actually do Outer Wild eventually. Now, a game that was innovative for me in terms of side scrollers is, I don't know if anyone will ever remember this game actually. It's an old Xbox 360 arcade game, but Castle Crashers was really innovative for me, because I still, to this day, really don't like side scrollers. I've tried getting into them. I think the most recent one, quote unquote recent one, that I tried was Dead Cells. I know it's not that recent anymore, but get off my back. And I really still couldn't get into it. But Castle Crashers, I played with my buddy Noah growing up, and man, I still think about Castle Crashers to this day. I think I actually, like, recently, as in a couple months ago, played Castle Crashers again on stream, and it's just a fantastic side scroller that really made me enjoy it. But it just has a certain charm to it as well that I really, really enjoyed. Now, two games that kind of fall into a similar category. I had them written down. Yeah, so these two games kind of fall into a similar category. They're in their art style. Well, in their style of game. I don't even know they're really similar. I see them as similar just looking at them side by side, even though they're also very, very different. But the type of game that is like, it's an indie game that's very small and it has a certain charm to it. These kinds of games don't really click boxes with me. But the first game of this style, you'll know in a moment I say it, that I was like, you know what? This one has something interesting to me. And it wasn't even because of the game itself. It was because of its integration with Twitch. And that was Cult of the Lamb. I saw people playing Cult of the Lamb, and I loved how it was integrated with Twitch in its own way, where that you could, so in Cult of the Lamb, you build a base of followers, but you could integrate it with Twitch so that people watching your stream could turn themselves into followers in your own camp. And for me, I was like, oh, brilliant. I want to play this game on stream now, because I can integrate it with my community and everything, and that will make it a much more enjoyable experience. I didn't really care what the game was. I just cared that it was involved with Twitch, so I can make it more involved with my community. That was the real draw for me. But over time, playing it more and more, I realized, holy damn, I actually really like this game, because the interesting thing is that it was a roguelike in a way. You did have different abilities that you would get as every single time you ventured out to face one of the four god deities things. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but you would get new upgrades as you progress throughout each different level. And initially I was like, meh, I don't like this kind of thing, but I really grew to enjoy it as I found out what type of weapons I enjoyed, what type of upgrades I want to do. And coming back to the base and doing the base building with the Twitch chat, that was the part that really kept me connected, because I love survival games. I love base building games, and I loved interacting with the community. So the fact that it was a roguelike as well was, at the time, I was like, oh, well, that's going to be kind of annoying, but I'll get over it. But eventually, especially near the end, I really, really started enjoying the roguelike aspects of Cult of the Lamb. And it just had a certain charm to it that I was like, you know what? I kind of like this style of game. And this carries over because many years later, I played another game, well, not a roguelike, but similar kind of in, you know, how it's portrayed in the art style, and that's Little Goody Two Shoes. I cannot express how incredible Little Goody Two Shoes is, and just the phenomenal hold it had on me from playing it. I saw Super Eye Patch Wolf, fantastic creator, you should check him out. He was playing a bunch of games that people had recommended to him on his stream. He gave every game half an hour of his time, and they all had to fit the spooky theme, because I think he was doing like spooky game recommendations during October. This was many, many years ago. And Little Goody Two Shoes was one of those games, and he only played it for about half an hour. But after watching him play it, I was like, there's something about this game. I couldn't put my finger on it, but there was something about it that I really, really wanted him to continue. And he looked like he had a blast playing it, so I expected he was going to continue playing it again in one of his future streams. So I waited and I waited and I waited, and he never opened it up again. And I was so disappointed because I was like, you look like you really loved this game. But my man's got a lot going on. You know, he's got tons of other stuff going on. So I get it. It is whatever. But I decided, you know what? Fuck it. I'll do it myself. So I launched Little Goody Two Shoes and decided, you know, I'm going to play it myself. And then I also streamed it. And holy shit. I fell in love with that game. And it is not the type of game that I like to play. It's kind of puzzle-based in a way, but it does have a romance path for different characters, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Freya's still best. Roxanne can eat shit and die. Was it Roxanne? I can't even remember now. I don't think it was Roxanne. No, Rosa Marie, not Roxanne. Whatever. But yeah, and it was a phenomenally innovative game because it made me look at that style of game and really change my opinion on what type of game this was and how I went about treating it and everything. So for me, those were the couple of games that were innovative in how they flowed and functioned because it was able to make me see past the types of games that I really didn't like Cult of the Lamb and Little Goody Two Shoes made me see past small little indie games with low budget like art styles and everything and some roguelike elements, and I was like, not my kind of jam. But the other aspects about it, the music in both those games, the characters, the ability to interact with Twitch chat for Cult of the Lamb, the fun romance options, and the fact that Freya is the best romance option, but she got so little fucking screen time, goddammit, and all that fun chat, it just made those games so incredible to me, and I couldn't believe it. Persona 5, very few times, I will think to myself, you know what, I kind of want to play the game again because I want to experience different romance paths. I couldn't really care less for the combat because, again, it is turn-based, but the romance paths, I kind of want to try those out. But then I realized I have to go through another 90 hours of play sessions to do that, and I have no desire to do that. But Expedition 33 also was turn-based, and while it doesn't exactly have romance paths or anything, and it doesn't give itself... Well, I shouldn't say it doesn't give itself replayability, because it absolutely does. There's many different challenges and side quests and content that you can do in that game if you really want to. But I kind of steamrolled to the finish line, and now that I've beat the game and everything, I have no desire to go back and do all the little side quests and everything, because for me, once you've beat the main quest, I have no desire to do the side quests. I have to do the side quests before I wrap up the game, because if I do the main quest and finish it completely, I'm not going to go back and do the rest. There's just no desire. The squeeze isn't worth the juice. So, in a long-winded way, what is the most innovative game in how it flowed or functioned? Well, that's going to be Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Ha! Bada bing! Zing! You thought I was going somewhere else with this. You're absolutely wrong. No. The most innovative game, to me, hands down, I think, in how it flowed and functioned, is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. I cannot describe the change in my life this game brought on to me. I didn't know anything about this game. I think it was actually Jackson who pointed this game out to me. Or no, I don't. I think Jackson and I may have came across it the same day. But it was suddenly just launched on Steam. I just saw it on the front page of Steam. It was like, now available, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. And I just saw this girl with all these Celtic markings on her and all this different stuff. And I went, what the fuck is this? And I checked it out and I watched the trailer and I said, oh shit, this looks pretty dope. So I looked into it a little bit more, and then I realized, I don't know if I'm going to really like this game because it was marketed as a walking simulator. And I'm really, really not huge on walking simulators. Let me tell you that. Like, games as art styles, I have no problem with, but a game still kind of has to feel like a game to me. And I played a walking simulator before called Dear Esther. And I played it on stream as well. And it was fine. I get the story it was going for, but the actual playing of the game experience was hold forward on the keyboard or hold left stick forward and occasionally turn from there to there. And I was like, this could have just been a short film. This didn't need to be a game. A game has to be something where you experience something as the character or alongside the character in a way that you have control, and then your control is taken away from you. That's what makes a game. And Dear Esther didn't do that. It was just walking simulator with story being told to you. And again, no qualms about the story, but it didn't need to be a game. It could have been something else. Now, a walking, quote unquote, walking simulator game that does the actual game part way, way better is like What Remains of Edith Finch. I've never played What Remains of Edith Finch. I've only watched it been played, so I can't share my experience. But What Remains of Edith Finch is a really, really good quote-unquote walking simulator because it actually gives you gameplay that you can take control of, and the game shapes its narrative around what you're doing and how you control it. And one aspect about that game that still, like, I still remember to this day watching people play it is there's a part in the game where you're a mindless, like, fish killer person. I don't know what they're called. You take fish, you chop the head off the fish, you put the head into a bucket, and you put the rest of the body on the conveyor belt. You grab a fish, and you do that over and over again. That's your job as at one point in that game. And you constantly have to go through the motions of moving your mouse, grabbing the fish, putting it on the cutting board, and then clicking different buttons on your keyboard to raise the knife, aim the knife directly where it needs to go on the head so you don't cut off a little bit, you don't cut off too much, you cut off the perfect amount, and then you push the mouse controller forward onto the conveyor belt and you do that. While music and other things are going on around you, you have to continuously do this. And at first, it's complicated, making all these controls go back and forth and trying to get it lined up perfectly. But eventually, you get into this rhythm where you're just constantly doing the same motion over and over and over again, like this worker would be in that aspect, as you just kind of drift off into Fantasyland, as the person you're playing as doesn't see the conveyor belt in front of them anymore. They don't see the meat cleaver in their hand anymore. You still have to go through the motions, but everything's kind of warping and changing around you as you drift off into La La Land while you're envisioning yourself not at this horrendous job. And that, as a game, is incredible because you still have to have your mouse and your hand on the mouse and the keyboard while going through all this stuff and making sure that you still meet your quotas and everything, but you are mindlessly drifting off to other places, and you're also watching that take place in the game. And that, I think, is a phenomenal thing to do for a quote-unquote walking simulator, because then you can still have gameplay that makes the story that much more incredible. That type of thing you cannot convey through a song. You cannot convey that through a film because you're a passive person actively passively listening to this or passively just watching this. And that's the wonderful thing about games as a medium or games as a storytelling aspect, is that it gets you involved into it. So you are not just watching or just listening. You are both watching, listening, and involved into it. And that, I think, is what Remains of Edith Finch does so well, and what Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, for me, did phenomenally. Because at first, I thought it was going to be a walking sim because that's what I saw people talking about it. And then I saw that it had combat. And I saw some of the combat, and I watched some behind the scenes of how they were doing the combat and everything like that. And I was like, okay, it's not just a walking sim. It is also combat involved. Excellent. Let's go into this. And then I heard it had binaural audio, and I went, I'm sold. Binaural audio is a little complicated to explain, but it's basically like if you put your headphones on and you were listening to, well, actually, if you've ever listened to ASMR, it's basically that, because you can listen to audio in either mono, where like right now my voice is coming equally through both your left and right hand speakers, or you can listen it to stereo, where sometimes something will be louder in the left ear than it is in the right ear. You'll have different instruments playing in different areas, and it gives you like a stereo area. Or you get 3D, which is like binaural audio, where you can pinpoint where exact sound is coming from in a full 360 sphere around you. Like playing video games. If you're playing a video game that has very atmospheric music, or like footsteps, you can hear them directly behind you or off to your side or anything like that. It's not just left and right, it's all around. Binaural audio basically takes that and upgrades it to the highest point. And the way Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice uses binaural audio is something I can't even describe to truly like tell you. It's something you can only experience. The combination of the voices in Senua's head, the girl you play as through the game, constantly talking to you, the narrator in your ear, in your left ear, the entire time. She never fluctuates. So you feel like she is always on your left shoulder. And then all the other girls that are kind of talking to you in your head and giving you like, oh, you're not going to make it, or oh, you're going to fail, and other stuff. And then the narrator is just right in there, just describing what's going on. And it's insane how well Senua's Sacrifice makes you feel like Senua. And I had no idea about this game. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't watch its development history. I just saw it suddenly come out on Steam. I was like, oh, what the hell is this? Looked into it a little bit, and I was like, I'm sold. We're doing it. And I played it, and it has stuck with me to this day. I don't think outside of like Kingdom Hearts, there is another game I've ever played in my life that has stuck with me as much as Hellblade has. And I still haven't played the sequel. I bought the sequel. I have it installed. I still haven't played it. I want to set aside a good 8 to 10 hours where I'm going to have no interruptions, no involvement in anything else, and just close all my doors, shut the lights off, and just get back into Senua's head and just see what the hell is going on. I'm really excited to do that someday. I haven't been able to have enough time to just set aside 8 to 10 hours. Some days I've almost done it, but I was like, not today yet. And I'm very excited for that time. So, to answer your question, Jackson, what's the most innovative game, in my opinion, that I've played that really wowed me in how it functioned or flowed? I would have to say, number one game is Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. And that's 100% because of the binaural audio and the way they did Senua's voices. That has stuck with me this entire time. No game has made me feel like how I felt at the end of Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. I've had a lot of experiences playing a lot of different games, like Expedition 33, like Cult of the Lamb, like Portal, like Castle Crashers, and all these different games. And I've had incredible moments in all these different games. But something about Hellblade just still sticks with me. But Kingdom Hearts 2 is still the best game ever made. So that's, yeah. And that'll call it for this first Fireside. So thank you guys so much for listening. And if you enjoyed this and you want more of this, then by all means, let me know by leaving a like or a comment just saying, hey, Torsten, this was cool. I liked this. And if you want to see more, then that would be awesome. But I'll need more questions so we can get into. So thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.